Good morning, everybody. I am sitting here outside the Wylie ISD district office. I'm out here because, yet again, a school district in the state of Texas has decided that they don't have to follow the legislature and they don't have to follow the commissioner's rules, but that they get to decide when, and only with their approval, a student can use a substitute assessment to satisfy their EOC graduation requirements. I don't know how much more the TA can do to straighten this out. I mean, they could send a really harsh letter, but that's not their style. But it has never been the law in the state of Texas that a student has to attempt their end of course assessment before using a substitute assessment to satisfy their graduation requirements. In fact, the commissioner's rules make it really clear that they can do that at any grade level, so long as they're enrolled in the course for which the EOC relates and they achieve a satisfactory score on the EOC, and they receive a satisfactory score on the substitute assessment. And here in Wylie, we had a student do that. And his mother did the right thing. She sent the scores and a request to his counselor, say, please confirm that he has met his graduation requirement by substitute assessment. Counselor didn't know what to do. Had never seen it, never been trained on it, I guess. So she sends it to the executive director of secondary curriculum, Stephen Davis, Dr. Stephen Davis, here at Wylie ISD. And Dr. Davis, not sure what he's a doctor in, certainly isn't jurisprudence. Dr. Davis decides, oh no, we have a problem here in Wylie. We have 900 plus students who would qualify for substitute assessment. If they all did that, they'd be lazy and wouldn't try hard when it came to the SAR, and our accountability would tank here in the city. And so Dr. Davis decides, well, I get to decide when you can use the substitute assessment. I don't have to follow the commissioner's rules. I don't have to follow the guidance from Julie Cole at the Student Assessment Division, who will tell you a student does not have to take the EOC before using their substitute assessment to satisfy graduation requirements. Dr. Davis instead decides he's going to invent his own rule. Now, mind you, the legislature's already decided who gets to make the rules. It's the commissioner. And the commissioner's already decided what the rules are. Dr. Davis wants to make his own rules. So Dr. Davis says, these are the rules. You have to have exhausted every testing opportunity. By the way, that happens the June after your graduation as a senior year. Number two, you have to met all your other graduation requirements. So apparently in Wylie ISD, you can't use a substitute assessment to establish your IGC eligibility. And then finally, if those two things apply, they're going to take the rules in effect then on that date in your senior year, not on the date when you were eligible and got your score. If the commissioner changes the test and raises the cut scores, you're out. You work eligible and you had met the score, but it doesn't count anymore in Dr. Davis's world. I've practiced law for 30 years, guys. We have something called ad hoc rulemaking. That's when somebody, without going through the proper rulemaking process, decides they're going to create their own rules outside of the statutory process for doing it. Usually that happens at the agency that actually has the authority to make rules and they just don't want to. This is a whole different level. The local districts have zero statutory authority to make rules about substitute assessments. And Dr. Davis, not even going through board policy, just has created these three bizarre rules which don't appear anywhere in the statute, don't appear anywhere in the in the commissioner's rules, and aren't even Wylie ISD board policy. And so rather than accept the fact that he was wrong when the TEA told him he was wrong, Dr. Davis, he's committed, man. He's stuck to his guns. He thinks he's on a superintendent track somewhere. He's got a superintendent certificate already. I mean, he was assistant principal of the year in some district somewhere for the whole region. I mean, he's big time. He thinks he's on the track. He's got to learn. You cannot act lawlessly and operate within the Texas educational system. So we're here for a grievance. I have no idea if the district is going to go, gosh, we have a problem here. We're going to lose this at the TEA, or we might get sued before it ever gets to the TEA. I don't know if they're going to realize they have a problem, or they're going to be, really concerned with covering up for their bright boy, Dr. Davis, or maybe even, worried that other students might use substitute assessment and therefore lower their accountability, which, by the way, isn't a one-for-one. It is not a one-for-one. We have zero evidence of students doing that and lowering a district's eligibility. Suburban districts all over the state have hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands, of students who could substitute assessments. You know how many do it? 10, 15, maybe that many. I would doubt Wylie ISD has one other student in 9th grade doing this, and they're worried that other parents might find out. Well, guys, let me tell you how to make sure other parents find out. Get into a lawsuit. Piss a parent off who can tell every other parent in her kid's grade, hey guys, you know what? Stop sweating the EOC. If you've got this score on your PSAT, you've met your graduation requirements. No problem. That's what the district ought to be thinking about. Not how do we shut down this one parent? How do we make our own rules because we don't like the commissioner's rules? If the district has a problem with the commissioner's rules, the place to address that, number one, would have been in the rulemaking. That's where I address it. That's where other parents showed up and address it. You know how many districts showed up to say we need a prior attempt requirement? Zero. Not a single district showed up to say that. TASB didn't show up for them. TASA didn't show up for them. Nobody showed up and said, this is a bad rule, Commissioner. You need to make the students try the EOC before they substitute it. And mind you, the commissioner doesn't have the statutory authority to do that. He knows that. In fact, they told Dr. Davis that the TA doesn't have that statutory authority. It doesn't matter to Dr. Davis. But that's where you do it. You engage in the lawful rulemaking process. You do not decide you're just going to make it out of thin air, make your own rules. It's amazing. We don't know what the district will do, but I'm going to update you after this hearing. So you guys have a great day.